William Shatner, renowned Canadian actor, coming to London in just a few short weeks for Shatner's World We Just Live In, at a fundraiser at the London Convention Centre for the St. Joseph's Healthcare Foundation. That is going to be October 18th. If you want to get tickets, you can go to sjhcfoundation.org. But also, 50th anniversary this month of Star Trek, the 50th anniversary of this sci-fi show that has spawned so much. So we have to ask about that as well, because for Star Trek, regardless of if you're a fan or not, you have to acknowledge that it's been a brand that has certainly existed through generations, through spin-offs, TVs, movies, books. Joining me on the line is the great Canadian actor himself, William Shatner. William, thank you so much for calling in. Really great to talk to you today.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you, Andrew. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, this is actually a great time for you. 50 years people are celebrating for Star Trek here, and you've noted in the past that this, for you, was 3 seasons. That was it. 3 years of work at the start, but now 50 years later, I mean, what's the thought of what was created in that show?
I mean, it's just it's a phenomenon. In the true sense of the word. It's never happened before. It can't possibly happen again in our lifetime, because we won't be around 50 years from now. At least I won't. And it's a great celebration. Imagine a show. You and I are talking about a show that went on 50 years ago, and here I am still talking about it. It's remarkable.
Did that show present challenges for you when you wanted to really do other things, when you wanted to connect with your Broadway or classical theater training, when you wanted to do serious roles that weren't set in space? Was that something that you had to battle, especially in the immediate aftermath of that?
Well, prior to it, I was doing a play that commissioned by the Utah University in Salt Lake. Had commissioned a play that we were taking to New York, and I couldn't go to New York, couldn't go to Broadway with it, because this thing that I had done the year before, a pilot that I had done the year before, had sold, and now it was ready to. They had to film it, and it was called Star Trek. And so, yes, very definitely, there were all kinds of things that I was looking forward to doing. But then I had, fallen in love with this science fiction premise, and I had been a fan of science fiction, and became an even more enthusiast about science fiction as time went on. But yes, I had a full life going before Star Trek, and Star Trek inserted itself in my life.
Looking at the work you've done since then, I mean, you are still at 85 years old, touring. You're still, as recently as a couple of years ago, publishing books. You're taking on new projects.
Wait a minute. As recently as today, as yesterday, there's a book out there called Leonard, in which I talk about a 50-year friendship with Leonard Nimoy, who passed this past year. A dear friend. Talk about how difficult it is to make friends, sustain them, especially in show business. Men, in particular, seem to have a problem with friends as deep as a brother could be. And a new book that's coming out at the end of September called Zero G, which is a great science fiction read, very exciting, about the FBI in space in the future. Zero gravity, zero, and G-men. They're in Zero G. So yes, I'm continuing to perform in various ways, trying to entertain people, as recently as right now.
So there's the point proven right there. But I mean, where is it that motivation comes from? Because so many people would love to just retire. For you, you are still immersed in it.
Wait a minute. Retire to what? Where are they retiring? Isn't it sad? I mean, imagine you having this fun of interviewing people and sitting there and drinking your coffee and exploring people's minds, and what a fun where if you were asked to retire, you would say, well, wait a minute, I'll sit on the porch and talk to people, only it won't be recorded.
That's a great point you raise, because for a lot of people, they never have that fun and that zeal in what they're doing. When was it for you that you first seized that?
That is really awful. Imagine you spend your life doing a job you really hate, you get your watch, you get your little dividend, and goodbye. Now I'm going to retire and really do what I want, which is to work in the garden and you fall over with a heart attack.
When did you first realize that you were doing something that you knew you'd never stop doing?
I was about 6, north of Montreal in a camp in the Laurentian Mountains.
What was it that did it?
I was doing a camp play.
Who did you play?
A little camp play. I played a kid because you know why? I was a kid. I was about 6 years old, and camp play in a summer camp for a couple of weeks to get out of the city and into the river, and that changed my whole life.
One of the things that has been really at the core of this one-man show you've done is the most important character you've ever played, yourself, William Shatner. But of all the roles you've taken on, I mean, what is the one thing that people would be so surprised to know about William Shatner? Not you as Denny Crane or you as James Kirk, but you as William Shatner.
I don't know what they'd be surprised at. I lead my life, openly, and I presume it's known that I love horses and I compete on horseback. I'm going today is on Sunday. I'm going to Las Vegas to compete in a horse show for several days, and then I take a plane to Italy and make a personal appearance in Italy, and then come back and compete at another horse show the following week. And the horse, the discipline I compete on is called reining, and that's a very difficult, very physical, very athletic sport. So I don't know whether people know that, but that certainly is one of my obsessions, if you will.
One of the things that I really enjoyed was your talk show that you had where you got to do some great interviews. Shatner's Raw Nerve, from Judge Judy to Rush Limbaugh to former co-stars of yours. Would you ever do a show like that again if the opportunity presented?
In a drop, just ask me, and I'm underneath there catching the echoes of your voice. I found it fascinating. I must have acquired a gift for it around the family table. I'm talking about my family, and my kids would say it wasn't a good dinner unless somebody was crying, and we would have these in-depth talks, and then I'd meet people and explore their psyche, the not the fun, but the entertainment of listening to somebody and talking to somebody and communing with someone. It's a joyful thing, as you well know.
One of the things about the interview, the art of the interview, is that you have to connect with people. You can ask questions, they can give you answers, but if you want to have something productive and illuminating, you have to connect with people. You've been doing that on stages. You've been doing that in front of cameras. Was it natural for you to sit in a chair and start asking questions of people that for years you had been doing more of the answering of than the asking of?
Well, you're absolutely right. And I arranged the chairs so there was about 18 inches apart. Not so much. There's that bubble of...
it was that weird S shape, I recall, right?
Yes. So it was like a love seat, only even closer. And so close enough that you... could see into the person's eyes, watch their pupils widen, and yet not so close that you invaded their space. So it was like a moderate. You had to be very careful. If you got too close, you were impinging. But if you got close enough, it became intimate. And it's that nonverbal response that you can't get over a telephone. You can hear it if you listen to the nuance of the voice. You can hear it. But you can't see it unless you're right there, that nonverbal response, which is a good part of a good conversation.
People are going to have the chance in London just next month to hear you in a somewhat intimate setting as well as you present for the St. Joseph's Healthcare Foundation, your show at the London Convention Centre. What's the one thing that you're hoping people will really hear from you or feel from you that evening?
I want them to laugh a lot. The show is very funny. There's a lot of laughter, and at the end of the evening, there's this enthusiasm. I have connected with the audience the way you and I are connecting now. There becomes an intimacy, and they're there and I'm there, and it's a very moving experience. But it's a very funny show, and so I'm urging people to come to the foundation, the St. Joseph Healthcare Foundation, to contribute to that. That is on October 18th, Tuesday, October 18th, at the London Convention Center. It's the St. Joseph's Tribute Dinner, and it's a fundraiser. So you're giving, the price of the ticket is a fundraiser for this incredible hospital you guys have. It's one of the biggest and best in Canada, and it needs fundraising support from the town.
Well, we are certainly grateful that you are offering your laughs and your story as we work to support that great organization. William Shatner, congratulations on the 50-year anniversary of Star Trek, but congratulations on all that you've done, and thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Such a great pleasure.
A pleasure to talk to you, Andrew.